All right, guys, today is my 30th birthday, so I repeatedly asked for what I wanted most, which was the RS wing, and I hope it's in this box. But preemptively, because I know my wife and she loves me, I got the base model wing for $100 from a really good scrapyard over in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So I got that for $100. We're gonna mount it all together and get this RS wing put on the Fiesta, which lives right outside there. All right, here it is. The RS spoiler. Luckily it doesn't have the RS badge thing on it, but it's gonna come way up high. It's gonna look nice like an RS. And basically all we gotta do is mount this. We just measure it all up with the base model wing up there. Screw it into that. First thing we're gonna do though is we're gonna paint this thing. A lot better than, so for like $250 you're getting a spoiler extension, but for $350 you can get this. For another $100 you can get the base wing, so maybe $500 altogether, double what one of those little lip wing things costs. You get an RS spoiler, so why not? All right, so step one, I'm gonna get this painted. I basically went to AutoZone. I found a Honda color, as much as I don't want this to be a Honda. Okay, so it ended up being so porous that it kind of sucked in all the paint. So what I did was took some 600 grit, worked it all over, wet sanding it just by hand, and then I did 800 grit, 1200 and 1500. You can skip some of those steps. You could probably just go 800 and 1200 and be fine, just to run it all the way over it. But it actually smoothed it out. I mean, it's like glass now. It's super nice. And so I kind of thought the paint would just fill it in, but I didn't get a paint primer mix. So this time we're trying the like Krylon gloss black paint primer. So this should fill in a little bit better. So I'm gonna hit it with a coat and hopefully it looks better. But it was just splotchy because this fiberglass was soaking up some parts of the paint more than others. So it looked good, like all black and stuff, but it just was sucking up certain parts and making it look dull. So I was like, all right, we gotta sand this down and throw some different paint on. So we'll see how this looks. Okay, so we've got the base spoiler on there and we got it lined up on the fronts like it's supposed to be. So flush up to where it goes right here, flush up on the bottom. A little teeny bit sticks out there. So from back here, it looks great. But the problem is you can see these huge gaps right here. So this lip right here is supposed to go on the rear side of the spoiler right here. The problem is there's no way that's gonna make it. And we're only gonna be able to line up one of the screws in here to screw that in. So what we're gonna do is, even though this is probably just a bad spoiler and we should just get a new one, I wanna get it on and we're gonna make it work, because the other videos I'm seeing aren't a lot more promising, to be honest. So what we're gonna do is shave the little nubs off the back here, so that way we can push those down all the way and screw them in. And it'll still look good. I mean, that'll get rid of the gap in there, at least. Okay, so I got the first side ground down here. Actually turned out okay. So we're gonna grind off the other little nub there. And all I'm using is just some 80 grit sandpaper on a little hand sander to take that off, because it's fiberglass. And I can go a lot slower with it, so I'm not cutting it with a grinding wheel and taking a big chunk out wrong. So I'm just getting it flush, just like that on both sides. That's actually pretty good. So we'll do the other side and test fit it again. So keep in mind, this is not a video on how to do this properly, but how we're doing it. But we shaved those off, so now with it lined up, when I push that down, which of course it doesn't want to focus on, there we go. So now when you push that down, it flushes up all the way. So that'll get us far enough. Okay, so what we did here is we just put a bunch of painter's tape on here and follow the top line right here along the spoiler. And then basically you transcribe this, you cut the edges of this with a razor knife here, so it gives us like a little sheet. You can see where we already poked the two holes right here. But then we're gonna come over here, flip it upside down basically. So he just did the right side over here. Now he's coming over here, basically lining it up with the this spoiler. And then we're just poking the holes in there with the pen to where it's pretty close. Did that top rip off right here?
No, I didn't put it on correctly.
Oh, gotcha.
I was rushed because you're...
Oh, sorry. But anyway, so then you poke the holes in it and then bring it right back over to the car. And that way we'll know where we need to drill right here. And then we'll take this off when we drill it out, so we can drill it from the inside out. Or we might just drill it from this side, but then we'll take it off and drill it out and make sure the angles are gonna match up. So when we take this spoiler off and flip it upside down and put it where Nate is, we'll be able to get the angles kind of simulated of like what direction we're gonna drill. So we'll show you that in a second, but that's our little super smart way. All right, so you can see we got the holes drilled in. I put a washer on this hole because I had to re-drill it, and I wanted to make sure it looked good. And then same thing on this side. I've got my 2 holes drilled in right here, and the bolts are in nice and tight. And then with the middle part, like I said, we shaved down the rears of those, and now they're actually holding in with some clear JB weld, or epoxy will work fine too. And so I'm gonna let this set overnight so it gets a nice glue. We kind of figured out that to line up the bolt holes from the bottom, we'd have to drill through the thick part of the plastic on the bottom. So it was just too far forward for it to work for us. So instead we decided, okay, we're just gonna make it work the best we can. But yeah, it's actually looking pretty good. We're gonna keep hitting it with the paint tomorrow, get 2-3 coats on the whole spoiler, and then we're gonna hit it with some clear coat. So we'll finish it up with some of this. Just the perfect match, duplicolor, protective clear coat. And then I still have a couple of cans of this gloss black. That's where we're at with the wing. I wouldn't recommend buying this if you don't want a little bit of a challenge. And this definitely doesn't fit the US spec base spoiler, because those are supposed to be all the way back. I kind of just settled with shaving the bottom off and putting it on. But either these are for Euro spec base spoilers, or they are just not well made to fit. So either way, not very pleased with it. I'll probably reach out to Maxton and see what's going on with that, or if I have the wrong base spoiler, which is what I suspect is the Euro spec is skinnier. But it's either that or the mold for this was just bad. But not impressed with the build quality or the fitment. And we got it close on the sides. It's still not perfect, but once I paint it all together, it won't be so obvious. And once it's on the car, I think it'll look nice. So this all finished up, painted and everything. It's actually looking pretty good. We had to mess with the sides a little bit to get it lined up, but it worked pretty good. And then we cut the rear tabs off right here, and got these glued on really nice. So they're actually holding quite nicely. So I'm happy with that. Happy with the overall look. And I don't want to say I regret the purchase, but it was a lot more work than I planned on it being. But that said, this looks very cool. Like, I actually really like it, and it makes the Fiesta look like a different car from the rear, which, I don't know. To me, it's worth the little things, you know? And this is more of a bigger thing, but I think it looks pretty mint. So anyway, what I ended up doing was 3 coats of black on the spoiler, 2 coats of clear over that, let it dry between coats, make sure it's cleaned off. I did it outside, so there's imperfections in it, but you know, like bugs land in it and stuff, and you gotta try to make the most of it. But overall, I'm quite happy with the way it turned out. You know, that's just some blue fuzzy from the thing I used to wipe it down, but overall, it's quite nice. So yeah, anyway, that's how to do all that. If you have any questions, please drop me a comment. I'll do my best to answer it. Feel free to subscribe. We're gonna have the S280 going in this weekend, as long as we get the catless downpipe, which is the only reason I haven't done that already. But yeah, this car is looking really nice right now.